Dr. Francis,
Yes?
I heard you're looking for a research assistant for your virology lab.
And you are...
Jonas Salk, sir. I'm in my third year of medical school.
And you want to switch to research?
Yes, sir. I think I can do the most good as a researcher.
That's a noble ambition, Saw. How old are you?
22.
You know that you couldn't graduate on time if you came to work in my lab.
Yes, sir. That doesn't matter. It's a chance to make a difference. I hear you're working on a vaccine for influenza.
For the Army. Did you know that in the last war, more soldiers died of the flu than in combat?
Yes, sir. I knew that. I want to help.
All right, Saw. I'll look into it.
There's just one thing, sir.
Yes?
I'm Jewish. I understand that Rockefeller doesn't hire Jews.
Yes, that could be a problem. Well, let's see what I can do. It wasn't easy, but I fought and finally managed to hire Salk. Luckily, the best researcher I ever saw. Within 2 years, we had developed the flu vaccine. During World War II, it was used to protect American soldiers, and some generals say it was the main reason we won the war. Anyway, it launched Salk's career just in time to meet another viral threat as serious as the flu.
My friends of our 48 states, infantile paralysis is an enemy which neither slumbers nor sleeps. It lurks in hidden places. It strikes without warning, whether the victim be child or youth, or man or woman of mature years. I emphasize the importance of a national, continuous campaign because experience tells us that epidemic diseases can be stamped out only through carefully directed work on a nationwide scale. We need, therefore, the cooperation of every state and county, every city and town, every hamlet and crossroads community in this work. Only by such cooperation has tuberculosis been brought under control in our lifetime, and only by the same concerted action will the scourge of infantile paralysis be stamped out.
After the war, Salk became head of the virus research lab at the University of Pittsburgh. In 1947, the March of Dimes gave Salk a grant to identify the types of virus that caused polio. By 1951, Salk and his first assistant, Julius Youngner, had not only found the 3 types of polio viruses, they believed they had found the basis for an effective vaccine based on the same principles as the influenza vaccine. The race for the polio vaccine had begun.
Dr. Salk, the count on this batch is all the way down. No live virus, non-existent. If we can get this kind of result in humans.
All right. I'll include these results in my presentation to the foundation.
But they gotta let us test it this time.
I'll ask again, but the answer is always the same. Sabin is a senior researcher, and he just won't hear of it.
Your grant is to survey and categorize the types of polio, Salk. We can't develop a vaccine until we know definitively what we are dealing with. I know it's dull work, but somebody's got to do it. One step at a time, Salk. One step at a time.
Sabin. He's been working on a vaccine for 15 years. We've gotten more results in 2. To hell with the foundation. Go ahead and publish. And let's get on with the vaccine.
The killed virus vaccine for polio is still against all conventional wisdom. We won't convince anyone until they have proof they can't ignore.
But we can't get that kind of proof without human testing. Go ahead and put it in your speech at the Copenhagen conference.
The speech is to report on the virus survey. We don't have the evidence for anything more.
So we can't get the evidence without the evidence?
That's the politics of public science.
In here, and don't wake up the boys. Why so late?
I had to finish my speech.
Your train leaves in 3 hours. I've got you all packed. Lie down for a while.
I can sleep on the train to New York, and I've got days and days to sleep on the ship.
If only you would. You can't keep up this pace, Jonas. The last 2 years, we've barely seen you.
So many kids, Donna. Yesterday, we lost a boy just Peter's age.
Oh God. What would we do? Oh, I couldn't bear it.
Parents always blame themselves.
And they don't have someone up to their arms in polio virus every day.
You know, I take every precaution.
So does everyone, Jonas. Movies, pools, everything closed. Monroeville has barricaded the roads into town, won't let outsiders in. Nothing helps. I read they expect over 40,000 cases this summer. Can that be right?
Yeah, we'll be lucky if it's only that many.
Well, I got a new tie for you for Copenhagen.
Pretty fancy.
Well, it is the first World Conference on polio, after all.
And me, the Jewish whippersnapper from Pittsburgh. You know what they call me in Sabin? The smart Jew and the young Jew.
You are the youngest scientist invited and the smartest. So, are you going to tell them about the vaccine?
What would I say? That I want to test a vaccine that nobody thinks can work and that we don't have enough money, staff, or space to do the testing?
Jonas, you'll find a way. You always do.
And the most elusive virus was type 3, which we finally found right under our very noses at the Pittsburgh Municipal Hospital. In all, we can say with statistical certainty that these 3 strains are definitive, and the control of poliomyelitis need be concerned only with these 3 antigen types. Obviously, these findings will greatly facilitate the development of a vaccine. Using what Tommy Francis and I learned while developing the influenza vaccine for the American Armed Forces a decade ago, I believe that a vaccine based on the same killed virus principles is within reach.
Dear Jonas, we heard about the controversy over your announcement of the vaccine in Copenhagen. We know you won't let the naysayers get you down. The ambulances are lining up outside the hospital, 16, 17 new admissions every day. The doctors and nurses are sleeping in their clothes on cots. When we try to go home at night, we pass rooms where children are crying out for someone to read to them or bring them a drink of water. 2 women have given birth to babies inside iron lungs. Last night, I passed a paralyzed high school boy who was crying because he couldn't move a hand to kill himself. Everywhere there is grief and terror and helpless rage. The nurses kid us that we really do need to do something. But of course, they aren't really kidding. We hope you have a speedy voyage home. Pretty posh, sailing on the Queen Mary. Now, we hear that you're to be the guest of Basil O'Connor. He gave us the survey grant from the March of Dimes Foundation. Maybe he can help with the testing.
Those years at Warm Springs, FDR suffered so much. Before he died, he made me promise to end polio once and for all. And now, after all the millions that we've raised with the March of Dimes for research, it turns out that my own daughter, Betty Ann, has got it. And I can't even help her.
Helplessness is the worst. Every time I walk past those kids in the iron lungs, I think of my own boys.
I meet a lot of scientists, Dr. Salk, but you're different. You've got spunk and sympathy.
I'm afraid a lot of my colleagues have spent so much time in the lab, they've forgotten why they're there. It's an awfully easy thing to start worshiping science over people.
People always came first for Franklin, too. That's why he became a politician.
There was a time I wanted to go into politics myself. Somebody once called politics the art of the possible. But science, in a way, it's the art of the impossible, of looking at things in a way that lets you see what no one's ever seen before.
And what impossible thing have you seen, Dr. Salk?
A new kind of polio vaccine, Mr. O'Connor, one that everyone says can't possibly work.
Now pay special attention, class. All vaccines are based upon a very simple idea. You isolate the virus. This alone can take years, and you weaken it just enough so that it can still provoke a primary infection, but produce only a very mild case of the disease. So mild that the patient may be asymptomatic. Nevertheless, the body's immune system is triggered and produces antibodies. These antibodies linger in the system for years, sometimes for life, and provide immunity.
The traditional kind of vaccine does work, but it's got big problems.
Such as?
Well, because you're working with a live virus, however much it's weakened, it can actually cause the disease in a few patients. Worse yet, the live virus can revert to full strength after it passes through those patients and give the disease to someone else, which means that by constantly reintroducing the live virus in the vaccine, you keep the disease itself alive in the world.
And your alternative is?
Kill the virus completely. The immune system doesn't know it's dead, and it produces the antibodies anyway.
Anyone who says that immunity to polio can be achieved by any other method, such as killing the virus completely and trying to fool the body into reacting to it anyway, is a kitchen chemist and a quack.
That's how the flu vaccine works, with a killed virus. I think it'll work for polio, too.
But the flu vaccine only works for 1 year, and then you have to get another shot.
That's because there are so many different flu viruses, and they keep changing. But we now know that there are only 3 kinds of polio virus, and they don't appear to mutate.
Thanks to that boring survey grant of mine, eh?
Right. Step by step, as Sabin says. But while we were taking those baby steps, we found a way to trigger the body's immune system. With a series of shots to produce enough antibodies, I know we can build up lifelong immunity and eventually eradicate the virus itself worldwide.
You know, we're a lot alike, you and I. You're not afraid to make passes at the moon. Tell me, Dr. Salk, what do you need to make the impossible possible?
Money, people, space, and time. And then, Mr. O'Connor, more money.
Well, we've tried everything that the experts said would work. Maybe it's time to try the impossible. And call me Doc. All my friends do.
Meeting O'Connor was the spark that set Jonas ablaze. I knew there'd be no stopping him now. And when I saw what polio was doing to thousands of kids and looked at our own Daryl and Peter and Jonathan, I could understand why Jonas was so driven and even give thanks for it. There was a heavy price to pay. The boys were at that age where they really needed a full-time father. My own career as a psychologist and social worker had been put on hold for many years. I could feel my own dreams beginning to fade away. It was hard living in the wake of a man like Jonas. Very hard. Peter, Daryl, simmer down and watch out for your brother. We're going to eat soon.
Do they remember what I look like?
Well, I barely do myself. We have distant relatives we see more often than you.
Remember our deal. It's only been a year, but we've done 3 years worth of work.
Only one more year to go then.
Park Davis wants to start manufacturing the vaccine, but I don't want to give up making it ourselves yet.
You're that close?
The Public Health Service predicts 58,000 cases for next summer.
Oh my God, it's doubling every year.
And we got to start testing now. We can do better, and eventually we will. But for now, this is it.
You're sure it's safe?
I took the first dose myself 6 months ago. So did everyone else at the lab. Not so much as a headache.
Years of our lives and the hopes of millions in that little bottle.
The lab is going nonstop to make enough for the family trials at the Watson home. But I have no right to inject other people's children unless I'm willing to inject my own. Do unto others, right?
I never doubted your science, Jonas. Boys, come in here, please.
You know how Jonathan hates shots.
Then start with me.
Welcome to this first meeting of our new Vaccine Advisory Committee. The first order of business is our plan for next year's polio season. It's an ambitious plan for mass inoculations.
You can't have inoculations without a vaccine. We don't have one, despite the rumors.
Not rumors, Albert. Dr. Salk here has successfully tested his killed virus vaccine on 161 kids and adults at the Watson home in Pittsburgh.
Everyone expected at least 10 more years of animal testing before human trials. Remember the disaster of Hillman and Brody in 35? Hundreds died. The risk is too great.
The statistics in Dr. Salk's report say otherwise, Albert.
Albert, I believe a properly timed series of these injections will produce lifelong immunity.
And if you believed you could raise the dead, would it make it so?
My job is to find out the truth, Albert. And I can't help it if you don't like what I find. If you want to argue with somebody, argue with nature, not me.
All the statistics we have tell us that a live vaccine is the only permanent solution. My dream is for an oral vaccine, which can be simply made, easily stored, and given like a small candy. Imagine what that could mean in places without refrigeration, or where people fear injections. Think what a blessing it would be.
Albert, even if we agree that your live virus vaccine is the ideal, shouldn't we go ahead and use what looks like an effective vaccine right now when people are crying for it? We've had 400,000 cases in the last 50 years and 14,000 deaths. I say that Jonas should test his vaccine on at least 25,000 people and do it before the next damn polio season.
Whoa, Doc, please. All I have is a flicker of light here, and that's all. I have no final polio vaccine. I never said that I did. We've accomplished a lot, but we're not there yet.
Jonas, did the antibody levels in the kids at the Watson home rise?
Yes, significantly.
And did they remain high?
To date, yes.
Any sign of illness?
No, thank God, not so far.
Then, Jonas, I think you do indeed have a polio vaccine, and we've only got 6 months before what's likely to be the worst polio season yet.
Yeah, but I want to go slowly, in stages. Continue the Watson home trials, start with maybe 200, then double that, and so on until we're sure it's safe. We'll do as many as we can before this summer's season starts and work right on through to the next. But I'm not going to risk killing anybody.
So mass inoculations are out for this year?
Absolutely. Just the Watson trials.
Thank God.
Jonas,
Doc, what brings you out here?
I brought 2 of my grandchildren, Betty Ann's youngest.
You want them in the trial?
They're in the very next group.
I appreciate your confidence.
Listen, Jonas, I wrote up a new plan for 1954 and sent it to the Committee on Vaccinations for review.
A new plan?
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than what you proposed, but I want to get this off to a big start.
Yeah, but Doc, this is not what we
I
had
got
discussed.
health officials from 33 states to agree to participate. 1 million kids in 180 counties.
1 million kids? We're not ready for anything like that. You agreed to my more conservative plan.
I know.
Why wasn't I consulted about this new plan?
Well, look, Jonas, the Model T was a long way from today's cars, right? But we did not go on walking while we waited for the 1954 models to come out, did we? So why should we let kids go on dying when we might have what is the Model T of polio vaccines now?
But I can't possibly make that much vaccine in my lab.
Well, then we'll farm it out. Send it up to the University of Toronto to develop the cultures and send them down to the big drug companies for mass production.
I don't know. It would be the first time that we've ever used a vaccine that I didn't produce in my lab.
I know it's against your nature, Jonas, but do what you do best. Develop the protocols for the drug companies, and then let the drug companies do what they do best, the mass production.
But I don't trust them. They think preparing a vaccine is like cooking a pudding. A pinch of that, a dash of that, and if it doesn't look done, then stick it back in the oven for a while. I mean, God forbid, if any live virus were to get through, we could spawn our own epidemic.
Now, the government inspectors will make sure that they do it right. Come on, Jonas. You can't go on doing everything by yourself.
All right. But one step at a time. Let's get through these family trials. We'll need the statistics to keep Sabin and his vultures off our back.
Right.
To sum up, my colleagues and I have sent a letter to the American Academy of Pediatrics stating categorically that the Salk vaccine is insufficiently tested, potentially unsafe, of undetermined potency, and of undetermined stability. We demand that leading virologists be surveyed as to their willingness to allow their own children to be injected with this vaccine. We are certain the results of such a survey would force the Academy to withdraw its support of the proposed national trials of the Salk vaccine.
He actually had the gall to send me a copy of his letter. And listen to what he writes at the bottom. Dear Jonas, This is for your information so that you'll know what I'm saying behind your back. This, incidentally, is also the opinion of many others whose judgment you respect. Love and kisses are being saved up. Albert.
Oh, God.
Everyone at the AMA meeting got a copy. I felt like a pariah. I'd walk down the halls and people would stop talking and they'd move away over to the other side. Sabin has declared all-out war against my vaccine, and I feel like he's winning.
Well, Sabin is not our only problem. The AMA and the Eisenhower administration both consider our vaccination program to be rank socialism. They want the vaccine administered in the doctor's office as a paid service.
Socialism?
Yeah. Boy, I've heard that song before. FDR must be rolling over in his grave. Well, we are in real trouble, Jonas. We cannot go this alone. We have to have the public health service, and we have to get the AMA off our backs.
And how the hell do we do all that?
Well, as I see it, our only chance is to bring in somebody from the outside to evaluate the trials. Somebody whose judgment is beyond question. Somebody who's not on one side or the other. Someone that everybody respects. Agreed?
Sure, but there's only one person I know who fits that bill.
Tommy Francis.
He'd do it right, or not at all. But I'd be really surprised if he's willing.
I don't know. It's a big responsibility.
You can write your own ticket, Tommy. You'd be absolutely in charge of the whole evaluation process. You can design it and run the thing exactly as you see fit.
The powers that be at the University of Michigan wouldn't be thrilled at my getting involved.
Well, the powers that be were thrilled enough when the foundation built their School of Public Health. You tell them that this say is going to require a whole new evaluation center with an open-ended grant. $1 million, maybe even $2 million.
That's attractive. I won't deny it.
Tommy, I'm not going to kid you. Either you do this or we're going to lose the whole national trial for this year.
It's a lot of kids with polio, maybe 60,000 next summer.
I know.
And the chance to prove that a killed virus vaccine is effective for more than just the flu. Well, what about cancer and viral infections we don't even know about yet?
All right, you win.
All right, now you're talking.
But there are 2 non-negotiable conditions.
Let's hear them.
First, I must have exclusive control over all the information coming out of the trial. Every single injection. Neither Jonas nor the foundation will have access to any of it until I announce my results. And that will be when I'm good and ready and not a day sooner.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Second, it has to be a double-blind study. Half the kids will be injected with a placebo for comparison.
Well, wait a minute, Tommy. What more justification can there be? What moral justification for intentionally injecting children with something you know is useless?
And I've already promised health officials in 33 states that 500,000 second graders are going to get real injections and not sugar water.
No. A double-blind study is the only kind of statistical evidence everybody will be forced to accept.
Tommy, I would feel personally responsible for every child who's injected with a placebo and later gets polio. This is false pride in the worship of science.
Hey, hang on a minute. What if we do 2 trials simultaneously? One with the second graders as promised, and another with the first graders, a double blind for Tommy. That way, everybody will be satisfied, and Jonas, we will end up helping more kids.
That's fine by me.
Jonas, about it, it's up to you.
You realize we're doubling the size of the trial. Twice as much vaccine, twice as many volunteers.
That's it, double or nothing. Can you do it?
I can try.
And we'll get this thing off to a big start. And so, thanks to your continued efforts, we have concluded another year in our relentless fight against polio. And now for some very special news. Your March of Dimes is planning a national field trial of a new vaccine. We hope it will be ready this spring before the next polio season begins. The vaccine itself will be manufactured by Park Davis, by Eli Lilly, and by the Cutter Laboratories, according to protocols created by Dr. Jonas Salk of the University of Pittsburgh. As to the safety of this vaccine, there's only one man that can speak to that, and that is Dr. Salk himself.
I give every possible assurance I can, and that medical science can, that the anti-polio vaccine is safe. In fact, I will be personally responsible for the vaccine's safety.
More grandstanding. Of course he'll be personally responsible for this vaccine. That's what I've been telling him from the beginning. If something goes wrong, you'll be finished. I tell you, the man needs psychiatric counseling. But he's like a moth to the flame. A moth to the flame.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. This is Walter Winchell speaking. Attention, everyone. Here's a report on a new polio vaccine. It may be a killer. The name of the vaccine is the Salk vaccine, named for Dr. Jonas Salk of the University of Pittsburgh. 7 of 10 batches just produced polio in monkeys at the National Institute of Health, and many of the monkeys died. Our sources tell us that the government is stockpiling little white child-sized coffins in case things go wrong in the upcoming national trials.
Oh, well, 2 days in and so far so good.
Our team alone gave 5,000 shots. I feel like I can barely lift my arm.
I've ordered another $9 million worth of the vaccine. We're going to use it next year, starting with every kid who got a placebo this year.
My God, Doc, don't you think we should wait for Tommy to report the results?
Ah, the hell with waiting. I've got 6 drug companies ready to go into production, and I'm not going to wait for the results. This is our chance to lick this thing once and for all.
But if the results don't verify what we...
Shoot for the moon, Jonas. Shoot for the moon. On behalf of the National Foundation of Infantile Paralysis, welcome. Today is the culmination of the largest peacetime mobilization in our nation's history. These vaccination trials were conducted entirely by volunteers. School teachers and parents from the National PTA and women from the National Councils of Catholic, Negro, and Jewish women. In all, there were 324,000 volunteers working to inject 2 million children in 44 states. We have truly seen what free citizens in a free society can do. Detailed reports of every single injection have been collected here in this building and carefully analyzed. And we are about to hear the results from Dr. Tommy Francis of the University of Michigan.
Though it is not possible to reduce the study to a single number, we can say that the vaccine is 60 to 70% effective against type 1, 90% against types 2 and 3. No illnesses or side effects were associated with its use. The bottom line is the vaccine works. It is safe, effective, and potent.
Hot damn, my boy, you did it.
You made it possible, Doc.
Ah, well, we'll celebrate later. Right now, I have 4 million doses on board trucks ready to fan out across the country.
You were that sure.
Oh, never a doubt, my boy, never a doubt. The mass inoculation program begins now.
You finally got away.
Are the boys asleep?
They were exhausted.
I never expected anything like this. The reporters just won't quit.
They've been out there all night. We're trapped in here until at least tomorrow, and I didn't bring anything for overnight. I called home. It's just as bad. People are camped out there on our lawn. Bags of letters are arriving, and lots of them are donations.
We'll send them all back.
Oh, and look at these. 4 movie offers. Warner Brothers wants to do the Jonas Salk story, and Marlon Brando wants to play the part.
I can just imagine what Hollywood would do to the story. They'll just have to wait till I'm dead.
The mayor of New York wants to give you a ticker tape parade. And some company wants to license Salk t-shirts and hats, and on and on. All this adulation, it's vulgar.
Yes.
Well, you did it. Why the long face?
Edward R. Morris said something to me tonight. He said, "A terrible thing has befallen you. You've lost your anonymity." Did I bring this on myself? Am I inviting all this attention after all?
Jonas, you wouldn't be human if all the praise and recognition didn't please you. Why don't you just admit it?
But I feel like I've been cast out.
Jonas, how could you be cast out? You never really let yourself in.
In?
Into the lives of others? Or them into yours?
I've never been any good at that, Donna. You know that. You better than anyone.
Listen to me, Jonas. Get away from all of this as soon as you can.
I just can't walk away now. Doc's already started the mass inoculation program.
You've got to. The boys need a father, and I need a husband. These past 2 years have left scars, Jonas. It's time for healing.
But this is really just another beginning. Now we can go ahead and inoculate everyone. Wipe this thing from the face of the earth.
And you would give every shot yourself if you could. Damn it, Jonas. What about us?
Damn.
They're gonna wake the boys.
I'll it's the middle of the night. What the hell? Tommy? Doc?
What's happened?
A child in Chicago and 5 in California have become paralyzed after inoculation.
Oh my God.
And 2 cases in Idaho, one of them fatal.
They've stopped the inoculations.
What?
Public Health Service is investigating. More reports keep coming in all the time.
There's going to be panic.
How many?
Over 80 cases, with more coming in, and so far 3 deaths.
Oh, no, God.
Could end up being hundreds, maybe thousands.
They're flying us back to Washington tonight.
Oh, God, no.
Jonas, come on, snap out of it. We've got to leave right away.
Oh, for God's sake, for once, leave him alone. Don't you see what this is doing to him?
Donna, we're all in a state of shock. But we need him. Oh, God, I've been on the phone for 10 straight hours.
How many more?
204 cases in all and 12 deaths.
I've said all along this was a disaster waiting to happen.
Albert, you've been trying to stop this thing from the beginning.
And now you see why.
Now, let's not jump to conclusions, eh? We've got to get to the truth first.
The truth is that Salk vaccine is unsafe. I'm calling the Surgeon General to demand that he cancel the entire program.
You think the Surgeon General will listen to him?
I don't know. The Eisenhower administration had to be pressured into allowing the vaccination program, and they haven't shipped in a nickel to help support it, so I just don't know. Maybe.
How the hell could this have happened? I know the protocols were correct. Did we miss something? Did I let you rush me?
Now, Jonas, remember, kids were dying. No matter what, don't forget that.
Jonas, Doc, we've got a common link. It looks like all the cases were caused by a bad batch of vaccine manufactured by Cutter in Berkeley.
But Idaho and Chicago weren't Cutter territory.
But Cutter distributed physician samples there. Their technicians have admitted that they departed from your protocols, Jonas, and they used shortcuts and government inspectors didn't catch it.
Damn it, that's just what I was afraid of. I warned you that this could happen.
It was their mistake, Jonas, not yours. The government inspectors should have caught it. It was a terrible thing, but it's water under the bridge. The important thing is that we can withdraw all the bad vaccine and still have warehouses full of vaccine that is absolutely safe.
Doc, please stop saying absolutely safe. There is no such thing as absolute safety.
Tommy, I feel terrible for every one of these children who got polio from these bad batches. But there isn't a damn thing wrong with my vaccine if it's made right.
But that's the point. Your inactivation process may be too delicate for mass production. This whole thing could happen again. We should stop the program until we're sure.
Tommy, if we do that, we'll never be able to restore public confidence. The bottom line is that the government boys inspect meat more carefully than they inspected the Cutter vaccine. The question now is, will the Surgeon General be willing to discredit Jonas's vaccine and condemn thousands of kids to polio in order to save the reputation of the public health service?
I have the answer to that. I tried to persuade him to cancel outright, but he's decided to compromise. He's going to suspend the program temporarily, pending the results of further testing.
Oh, that'll scare the public to death. They trusted me. I took personal responsibility for the vaccine, and now we've got the government telling them it isn't safe?
You should consider this a victory, Salk. Make no mistake, I am out to kill your killed vaccine. As you know, after 20 years of work, I have finally finished my live oral vaccine. I looked for virgin territory in which to conduct human tests, and I found a willing and needy ally in the government of the USSR. I have just returned from there. As my Russian colleagues will attest, in just over 1 year, they have fed my live oral vaccine in small candies to over 75 million people. My vaccine is 100 times cheaper and easier to produce than the Salk vaccine. One can only wonder why the US Public Health Service delays in licensing my live oral vaccine for distribution in my own country. Thus, closing the polio gap.
Did you see the new AMA journal? The Sabin vaccine must be licensed immediately. It gives us the opportunity to eliminate polio as a significant health problem. What problem? We've got polio down by 90% since 1954. What more do they want?
What they want is for the vaccine to be administered in doctors' offices as a paid service.
We've been distributing it for free for the past 5 years, and they wouldn't help us.
That's the point, Jonas. It was free. You refused to patent it.
Well, could you patent the sun?
Well, listen, I agree, but without the patent, nobody can make any money off of it.
So now they want to take over and revaccinate everybody with a Sabin? That'll invalidate all of our long-term statistics. Why don't they just let us finish the job?
There is one simple answer to your question. National health care.
Health care?
Let me give you a quick course in Washington politics, my boy. Eisenhower wouldn't chip in to vaccinate everybody in 1955 because he had campaigned against socialized medicine. And the administration thinks that the March of Dimes looks a lot like socialism. It was, after all, FDR's baby. So every time that national health care has been proposed in the last 30 years, they have fought it back. But we have Kennedy in the White House now, and he thinks a lot like FDR. So organized medicine, the AMA, the drug companies, the insurance companies, they're all scared to death. They have to do something to take control of the situation. And the Sabin vaccine is it. They have to make your vaccine look unsafe. They have to make Sabin the knight in shining armor, and they have to stop the March of Dimes.
And for years, I've been a good boy. I've kept my mouth shut. I've just done my work. But I can't just sit still and watch this happen.
Well, it's about time.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on such short notice. For years, I have remained silent, while Albert Sabin and others have repeatedly told the physicians and the public of this world that a live virus vaccine is better than a killed virus vaccine, that a live vaccine may induce longer immunity, that it may eradicate the polio virus, and that a killed vaccine cannot. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no evidence to support these claims. They are based purely on dogma. Dogma that the success of our killed vaccine has now irrefutably disproved. Throughout history, every important advance in science has been met with the twin obstacles of ignorance and envy. And the killed poliovirus vaccine is no exception. What I want to say now is this. If we switch to the live virus vaccine, we will be perpetuating polio in the world forever.
It was no use. On August 17th, 1961, the Public Health Service switched its official recommendation to the Sabin vaccine, and the Salk vaccine was withdrawn.
15 million doses of the Salk vaccine sat unused in warehouses. It still makes me angry to think about it.
For Jonas, everything had changed. He left Pittsburgh and moved to San Diego, where he founded the Salk Institute for Biological Studies.
In 1968, he and Donna divorced. And 2 years later, he remarried.
To Picasso's mistress.
Though he was at one time the most famous man on earth, Jonas Salk never got the Nobel Prize and was never even elected to the National Academy of Sciences.
But time continued to prove him right. By the 90s, the few cases of polio that still occurred in America were being caused by the Sabin vaccine itself. So, in 1999, the Public Health Service reversed itself, dropped the Sabin, and restored the Salk vaccine.
America is now polio-free, but despite efforts by the World Health Organization, it remains a terrible threat in other countries. Bill and Melinda Gates have announced that ending polio completely will be the top priority of their foundation, promising money, reputation, energy, everything to finish what FDR started. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Jonas Salk had been allowed to finish his work.